Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Mary and I am a professional numerologist. And in this video, we're going to go over master number 33. And that's going to be the last life path I'm going to go over. We already have life paths 1 through 9, 11, 22, and finally, it takes me 2 years to post master number 33. And so the parts that we're going to go over is the symbolism of 33, the traits, life purpose, the gifts or the positive side, and then the challenges or the negative side, and then how to develop from those challenges, some career paths, as well as some famous master 33s. Okay, and so let's start. I'm going to put some timestamps in the comments as well as in the description. Okay, so I have several examples of the symbolism of 33. So the first one I have is the human spine. So the human spine has 33 vertebrae, and those are the little segments that make up the human spine. And so that just connects, gives a connection to the Bible. So Jesus, he was crucified and resurrected at age 33, which is is a symbolism of an awakening, Christ's awakening or enlightenment. And then another example in the Bible is that in the first chapter of Genesis, the Hebrew word Elohim means God, and it's repeated 33 times in Genesis. And then the next symbolism I have is in ancient Indian traditions, and that's the Kundalini. So that is a dormant divine feminine energy that's in the bottom of your spine. Dormant is like asleep. It's a very powerful energy that everybody has, but it's like asleep. And there are ways to open it up. And it's an energy that when it awakens, it rises up your spine, like it ascends the spine and it opens all your chakras. It also could trigger or awakening bliss and love consciousness, or enlightenment. And so some yogis, they practice all their life to waken up the Kundalini. There's also Kundalini yoga. There could also be trauma that triggers it as well. And for me personally, I personally have had a Kundalini awakening, and it's wild. But for mostly how I describe it is it's just a trauma that awakened it up in me. It was so unintentional, but it was just a lot of energy rising up in my whole body, a lot of vibration, and just all of a sudden, just overwhelming feelings of love and connection for everything. But that could talk about that in another video if you want. And then in the next symbolism, I have in the Vedic religion, or in Hinduism, there are 33 gods, or 33 representatives of higher human ideals. And then in Buddhism, they also have 33 gods or deities in the second level of heaven. And then I have 2 more points. In astronomy, it takes 33 lunar years for the moon to align with the sun, the rotation back to its original position where the moon began. And then lastly, in Islam, they have a string made of 99 prayer beads, and they repeat glorious is God 33 times, and then all praise be to God 33 times, and then lastly, God is great 33 times. So it's a lot of powerful symbolism, examples of 33. I just connect it all to higher human consciousness, or just enlightenment is what I feel 33 represents. And then next we're going to move on to the traits. So first I have is that they're very humanitarian. So they do tend to think about others more than themselves. They're very kind, loving, honest, sensitive, sympathetic, and generous. They're also humble. You have a deep pride in themselves. So that can also mean up front, they can appear very cool, calm, collected, unemotional, but they have a depth of emotions. They have very deep feelings. They're also knowledgeable, intuitive, idealistic, inspiring, courageous, and zealous, which means like they're very passionate about their causes, passionate about their goals. And then lastly, I'm going to look at the root of 33, which is 6, because 33 plus 3 plus 3 equals 6. And what they have in common with the 6 life path is that they value the home. Like, the home has to be a safe haven. For some other people, like, home is just where you sleep, cook, doesn't matter. But it's very, very valuable for, like, it's core to a 6 and 33's happiness is home has to be a safe haven for them. They also very much value family, love. They do tend to take on more responsibility. They're also very disciplined and have a nurturing instinct. And then next, let's move on to the life purpose of 33 master numbers. So their archetypes. They're known as the master preachers, master teachers, and master guides. And as those titles suggest, they're here to teach, proclaim, advocate, nurture, and uplift humanity. They do often feel pulled towards achieving, self-sacrificing, transforming, not just transforming themselves, but transforming other people. So similar to 6 life path, like if you have a friend with a 6, you're likely to go on a self-development journey with them, always like seeking to improve themselves and others. They also have a gift of higher vision, meaning like it's like they see the potential future of everyone, everything, every goal. But they have to work through issues of perfectionism. So like a 6, they have high standards, high ideals of how things should be, what's the best or right thing. And then also they have to work through issues of expressing their emotions as well. And like I mentioned earlier, they're always like very calm, cool, collected, unemotional. So it's all about like trusting to express themselves to other people instead of like hiding their emotions. Also, another issue is overcoming self-doubt. Since they have like perfectionism, high standards all the time, it's like, oh, if I can't be perfect, then I'm not going to do it. So that's an issue that they must work through. And then they're also here to learn to be in the present moment. Since they're so idealistic with their vision, they're always focused on what's the right thing to do, what's the right way to feel. Also, 33s are naturally inclined to spirituality, which makes their journey more chaotic in order to achieve peace, and that also starts with inside. But it really depends on like how well they grow from it and how well they handle chaos. I feel like they tend to deal with it pretty well. Like they have this authoritative like energy when they walk into a room. It's like they always know what to do and they're very experienced on handling things and stress as well. Or maybe they just show that they can handle it easily. On the subject of like the actual digit of 33, again, it's like very similar life purpose of a 6, but since they have a double influence of 3, it means that first they need to get in touch with their inner feelings and communicate themselves before 2 expressing it to others. So they can express it to others like once they're in touch with their own emotions. It's just much more easier for 33s to express through art, speaking, creativity, or just being in service of others. And then when 33s learn to express authentically, they're able to connect empathically with others, and they're also more able to connect with their own deep intuition and wisdom. Since the master number is a combination of like 11 and 22 master numbers, they gain a higher potential. And it's said that the 33 is the most spiritually evolved. I would say that every single friend I had who was a 33, they're all very spiritual, like very spiritual or religious, or they just like are like a light, a nurturing light to community, and they do so much for the community as well, and they just seem just so wise, and they're always teaching me something. So I find that to be true. At the highest ambition, 33s focus on spiritually uplifting others around them, and they're very devoted to their causes. And then while they're uplifting others, like an essential part of that is to teach others as well. And so that means, like, in order to be a good teacher, they are always seeking to acquire knowledge. And not only do they love to share it with other people, so whatever they teach, they're also always willing to help people learn, because they're pretty involved with people, relationships, friendships, community. And as they mature, they do possess a very optimistic attitude, which is similar to a 3, because a 3 life path, they're known as the optimist. And 33s also work on nurturing an optimistic attitude in others as well, which makes a 33 a human magnet. I do notice that whenever they walk into a room or environment, like, you always notice them very charismatic as well, and I find them to be like very socially intelligent, because doing the right thing socially is also very important to a 33 and a 6. Overall, their life purpose relies on creating a bigger vision, or a bigger vision of creating a vision of a bigger picture, and also to see beauty and opportunity through life's ups and downs, because since they have such high standards, they can easily develop a pessimistic attitude and like become easily disappointed. So they later learn, like, okay, so I see that mistake or that negative thing happening, or I was let down with that, but it's an opportunity to grow from it, an opportunity to help people grow. And most important to them is the growth of everyone, and not just one. So not just themselves. And their primary message to us is to encourage others to live purposely and creatively, allowing God's power through you, like allowing God's, or channeling God's power through themselves. Okay, and so that was the life purpose of a 33. Next is I'm going to talk about the gifts, or the positive, the light side of 33. So starting in the positive, their energy or aura is very bright, it's magnetic, and it's very pure. Another light side is their creativity. Because of having a double 33, that is the number that's very creative, very expressive, like emotionally expressive, and so they need like avenues to express themselves. 33s, they have the potential to be creative geniuses, like through art, music, or any kind of expression. The next one is, as a 33 matures, they work with their creative vision and realize that there is a higher perfection in themselves and others in the environment. Another gift is seeing the positive side, as I mentioned earlier, seeing the positive side in every issue, always having a kind word to say, and eventually realizing that we're all becoming higher beings. On the topic of relationships, on the positive, a 33 uses their spiritual energy liberally to help and comfort people around them. I tend to find that they're so good at that. And this is why I like being friends with people who are like 6 or 33s. Another positive is having a healthy high standards and having a sense of fairness. And so you'll find them work like with careers working for truth, justice in personal life as well as in society. Next positive is that they are using their profound intuition to maintain harmony within families, within friendship groups, within the community, such as like if there's any conflicting energies between two people, they're going to use it to like diffuse it and bring people back together. Lastly, if they do choose marriage, they will end up becoming very loving parents, and they seek to understand their children. And if they don't seek marriage or children, then they treat everybody like family in their work environment or in their office. So now I'm going to move on to the challenges, or the negative side of a 33. And so first I'm going to mention perfectionism. That has popped up a lot so far, and it is a negative. It's really pretty unhealthy if their standard is to achieve perfection in everything. And like that's just that's them being fixated on what's the best way to do this, the best way to feel, um, just like the ideal way to act, be, and feel. I just That's like just really inauthentic. It just sounds like very like they end up being very robotic. Um, if they end up doing that, it's just not good to not be um like it's good to be a role model, but also to be genuine to yourself as well. So if they're always focused on the perfect way to act and be, they're going to lose a sense of reality. They can either become disappointed, disheartened, and frustrated when life doesn't meet their standards, and then they end up complaining or gossiping and criticizing other people. That's not good energy to be around, and it's also very draining. The second point I want to mention is judgment. And so in the negative, 33s can become the harshest critic when it comes to like not being able to reach their goals. So they would end up using their gift of vision and pointing out flaws in other people or in projects or in the environment. And if a 33 decides to say those criticisms out loud to people, then they end up judging themselves for judging other people. The third thing I want to mention with a challenge is being very competitive. So with their high standards, they could constantly be comparing themselves and pushing themselves harder to reach perfectionism, and if they don't feel well. Next one is self-doubt. So if they give in to the pressures of society's ideals or like their parents' expectations, or their own expectations, then they just end up feeling defeated, or they just glide through things, or just end up giving up completely. Next challenge I have is being over responsible, as well as feeling superior, just because they take on so much responsibilities. A 33, sometimes they can't help helping others. Like they need to be needed, and that just makes them too attached to other people, and they allow themselves to be emotionally manipulated by others. So they tend to attract needy people, but the danger is thinking that they're the savior. Then last challenge I have is controlling or smothering behavior, and that's from like taking a lot of responsibility. So if they take on so much, they would end up becoming overburdened or overwhelmed, and then they end up suffering from anxiety or panic attacks, or they end up having apathy, which is like feeling a lack of concern, just like just to like preserve themselves, protect themselves. And then next, we're gonna go over development, so like how to develop from those challenges. And so a couple of points addressing perfectionism. So the first 3 points I have is that they gotta focus on vision, appreciation, and inspiration. So first, when a 33 has hopes or goals, they gotta use it for inspiration, not as a measuring stick. Second, so we're what you see is just in the world of form. So like anything physical, material that you can see or touch, they gotta realize that perfect doesn't exist when it comes to forms, because forms can change. Even looking at other people, they're constantly growing, aging, and changing, and so they gotta realize that perfect doesn't exist when it comes to forms. So they gotta appreciate the inherent perfection in people. Like for example, like, oh, we're all children of God, so that we're perfect already. And so with those 3 points, no matter what happens, they accept any perceived flaws, and they use it for fuel to learn and grow, like not just themselves, but to help other people grow as well. The next point I have for development is boundaries. And so with a 33's nurturing nature, they're here to truly learn how to help people, but they also need to learn how to balance between help and interfering with other people's growth. For example, like sometimes it's okay to let people struggle, so not to avoid necessary life experiences. And so everything I listed so far with challenges, it also benefits. Those are good points for a 6 life path as well. And next, I'm going to go over points of development addressing the 3 energy, and that's going to be about feelings and vulnerability. So 33s, they are very sensitive, which is a gift, but they also need to acknowledge it. It's also important to reconnect with their true feelings as well, instead of the best way to feel or the ideal way to feel. And then with their high standards, if they feel too short on a goal or standard, instead of acting with self-criticism, just take the risk to be vulnerable. It's like if you're feeling frustrated with a project, then just express it. Like, oh, I just want it. Like, I'm so frustrated with this project, but I'm really trying to like make this work, and I put so much work and effort into it. Just like, it's okay to be emotional sometimes and like let your guard down. And when they do end up being more vulnerable to like their trusted like people, then they are rewarded with closer, more intimate relationships, as well as growing more courage. Lastly, 33s have a strong need for love and emotional support, and many people do give them that, but this life path may not be able to see it until they love and accept themselves. So it starts with yourself first. So when they do learn to love and accept themselves, their energy and aura becomes even brighter and more beautiful. Okay, so that is it with development. Next, I'm going to go over common careers with the 33 master number. So just going over like the traits that they commonly have, since a lot of them are very nurturing and intuitive, empathic, and highly sensitive. They can use that gift to get into teaching or training, mentoring people one-on-one, or like mentoring like groups. They can go into nursing, psychology, and the health field. Next is that they tend to be creative as well. And they need to express themselves. It could be through art, visual art, it could be through musical talent, or just like service. But mostly when it comes to creative fields, they can get into acting, dancing, music, writing, designing, or becoming an athlete. I find that a lot of 33s, they are very emotionally expressive. Like they either play a musical talent, or they're very talented with how they speak and teach to other people. The next thing I'm listing is that they're very conscientious and they have high standards, also very precise and devoted to their goals and causes. And so they can end up going into police work, they could get into religious clergy, social work, or nonprofit organizations. And then lastly, they do have a business talent. A lot of them, it's nice seeing them in charge. It's best for them to be in charge as well, or like even have a home business, since home is so important to them. So they could end up being entrepreneurs, they could be brokers working in sales, and they do have the ability to effectively attract the right people, since they're very charismatic. They can easily connect to people. So that is it with careers. Lastly, I'm going to go over famous people who are 33 masters. And so I have down Salma Hayek, I have Meryl Streep, Robert De Niro, Stephen King, Sylvester Stallone, Thomas Edison, and Lenny Kravitz. So that is all for the 33 master number. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a comment down below if this makes sense to you, or to see if anything helps. I'm just here to guide, and if you would like a personal reading, you can check out my website in the link below. And so that is all. Until next time, have a beautiful day. Bye.